Some 2,000 years ago, there existed a man who is considered to be one of the greatest Roman emperors of all time. He maintained harmony in an empire spanning the entire Mediterranean basin, fought against the existence of slavery, and defended his people on the front lines, shoulder to shoulder with his fellow soldiers. But when you go on Google searching for Marcus Aurelius, the first thing that pops up isn't his legacy cemented in his many good feats or efforts, but rather an Amazon link to his journal. Yes, you've heard and seen that right. But before we go questioning Google search results, I want to give you a quote from said journal. "Today I escaped anxiety, or no, I discarded it, because it was within me, my own perceptions, not outside." Mind you, he ruled over half of the world's population during this time. Today, if you were to combine the populations of China, Russia, the United States, and India, and why not throw in South America and Luxembourg in there for good measure, you wouldn't get the ratio of people he personally ruled over. Yet, he's here, talking about anxiety. Humbling, isn't it? You really don't think about the mental toll that this power might take, but during times of stress, overwhelming struggle, a loss in direction, Aurelius chose to sit down and write about it. Here are a couple other ones. "It never ceases to amaze me. We all love ourselves more than other people, but care more about their opinions than our own. Stop arguing about what a good man should be. Be one." All of these quotes are directed towards himself. He never meant for any of this to be found, let alone published for the entire world to see. And navigating through life's very ordinary challenges, Aurelius chose to journal about them. He talked about his struggles with mental health, masculinity, romance. He related to his constituents, his brethren, talking of times where he personally experienced grief, depression, anxiety. However, some of you in the audience may still fail to relate to Aurelius, and that's perfectly understandable. He's a powerful king ruling a vast empire some 2,000 years ago. How does he have any relation to you or the modern world today? But before we go down that train of thought, I want to give you one last quote. "Living sucks, but friends, family, and hobbies make it slightly less suck." Now, this quote is a little different than the others. Why, you may ask? Because it's from me. It's from my own personal journal. Hello, my name is David Bay, and to give you some personal insight on who I am, throughout my entire life, I've moved a total of 17 different times. And I never once had this idea of stability. The only thing granted in my life was change. While I initially tried making new friends every time, the constant goodbyes wore me down, and I eventually retreated into my screen. My routine quickly boiled down to eat, sleep, study, video games, and repeat. Anxiety and binge eating always loomed, and the lack of a father figure and my mother's extremely demanding work schedule made it all that much worse. And the fact that I was aware of each and every problem, yet lacked any personal motivation to do anything about it, only sank me deeper and deeper into self-loathing. Now, this was until I moved to California. Initially, this wasn't anything new to me. I had moved from South Korea to California at 5, back to South Korea at 10, and now back here before high school. But this time, there was something different. A classmate of mine came up to me and invited me to eat lunch with them, and that small gesture to and from a complete stranger changed my life. I quickly became best friends with him, and he's actually in the audience today. And I quickly became friends with all of his friends. And this was where I was first introduced to journaling. Though I was immediately hesitant, to be fair. I had grown up with TV shows and movies depicting decorated diaries with journals about boys locked away in drawers. I thought it was too feminine, too frilly, too involved. But for some reason, I took that leap, and the more I journaled, the more I benefited from it. Not only was my head more clear and my mind more focused, but I actually started taking responsibility for who I was. I started being more confident, emotionally stable, started loving all of what I had to offer the world. And seeing these visible improvements turned journaling into something actually enjoyable. And it was beyond social stigma where I found comfort. But many people around the world can't say the same today. Journaling is something that's been viewed as feminine for centuries on end, right? In actuality, journaling has long been associated with masculinity for most of history. Take Winston Churchill, Leonardo da Vinci, Albert Einstein. The great leaders, scientists, and businessmen, the shoulders of whom we stand on today, the one thing that they had in common was that they journaled. It was only until after World War II that these binary ideas of masculinity and femininity truly become cemented into Western culture, turning journaling into something viewed as effeminate. Today, we've reached a point in time where a lot of males don't journal. Sure, some of it may be because it tends to be something that men have to find on their own. They have to independently realize its use, its benefit, its enjoyment. But especially in the modern world, in the modern digital world today, a lot of it's because it's viewed as too girly. Shifting gears a little, consider the fact that nearly 18% of men in the US suffer from mental illness. That's 23 million men in our nation alone. Now, considering those unreported, unwilling to get themselves diagnosed, that number nearly doubles to 35 million. 35. And in the US, suicide is the second most leading cause of death for men under the age of 45, with nearly 50,000 men taking their own lives just this past year. Each of the 108 men in our nation who took their lives just yesterday came from all walks of life. Yet, they had one thing in common. They leave behind friends and family, all grief-stricken and overwhelmed, most with little idea about the personal battles they had with suicidal thoughts and depression. When being vulnerable isn't seen as an option, alcohol and gambling, self-harm and suicide seem to be the only way out. This notion has to change. We need to show men that reaching out, that feeling one's own emotions aren't a sign of weakness, but rather one of strength. This, of course, is much easier said than done, but I believe journaling can provide a step in the right direction, like it has for me. Now, consider the fact that journaling just twice a week for 15 minutes can greatly reduce depression, anxiety, or angst, especially during or after a stressful experience. Overall, it's shown to improve mood, provide clarity, and boost one's overall enjoyment and happiness in life. I mean, take it from the most powerful man some 2,000 years ago. Many people attribute Aurelius' success to how put together he was, how he remained a strong, clear-headed leader during the darkest of times. But time has allowed us to see behind the curtain and find that his extensive journaling not only laid the foundation for his success, but the success of his empire. To Aurelius and many others today, journaling isn't just writing that provides clarity, improves mood, strengthens leadership. It's an act of humility. It's recognizing your own weaknesses, accepting your faults, overcoming your Achilles heel. That's what builds, what sustains the strongest and greatest of men. So, stop arguing about what a good man should be. Be one. Thank you.